Have you ever wondered what it's like to work in the fashion industry? To make it as an artist, the hustle behind launching your own label, pursuing a career in music or any other creative industry? Halfstack has been pursuing these stories in print form for the last 4 years. This fall, we're bringing the inside story to YouTube. We connected with some of Chicago's most iconic creatives to hear their stories and share their journeys with you. We take you behind the scenes and offer candid, personal conversations with people pursuing their dreams. It's not as glamorous as the media would like you to think. We are sharing the raw reality behind making it. In today's episode of Making It, we meet with Chicago fashion designer Anna Hovit. Anna is well known in the Chicago design community and took us on a tour of her studio and sat down with us to talk about her journey as a designer, where she sees the industry heading, and why she recently rebranded her namesake line to Hovet Apparel. We talk about her evolution as a designer, how her style has grown up, and yet how it still stays true to its original roots and vision of a modern aesthetic with maximum comfort, all made right here in the USA. Hovet focuses on American-made apparel that resonates smart style and ease by fusing modern aesthetics, high-end design, and the maximum comfort of streetwear. The contemporary sports luxe line incorporates sustainable bamboo terry to give their knits luxury softness and sleek movability, along with a nod towards designing for good. Anna is truly a visionary in Chicago, and she's sharing how she's making it work here in the city. It's not easy, although she makes it look effortless. Let us know if you're enjoying this series by clicking that like button and commenting below. If you want to keep up with the latest episodes, please make sure to subscribe. If you have a suggestion for a video feature for Making It, shoot us an email or leave a suggestion in the comments below. Next week, we close out our fashion series with a feature on the Chicago Creative Collective, Maybe Sunday.
Well, my name is Anna Hovit. I'm originally from North Dakota. I've always been fascinated with art and fashion and how people express themselves through clothing. So I've always had a desire to give people an opportunity to express themselves in different ways through their clothing. I came to Chicago 13 years ago. I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, where I now teach fashion illustration. And in 2009, I started my company. So it started out as just my name, Anna Hovit, and it was a super trendy, fun streetwear brand. And we kept that brand for about 6.5 years, and we recently transitioned over to Hovet Apparel, which is a little more sophisticated. The patterns are more sophisticated and simplified. The color palette's a little more mature, and it's just because now I'm older. I want to wear different clothes than I did when I was 23. So we're taking the things that people love about our brand, made in Chicago, comfort, high quality, and then we're just transitioning it into a little more of a sophisticated, mature, simplified version of it. Well, I graduated college in 2007, which was a terrible time to graduate college. Luckily, I did get a job in the fashion industry that year, designing baby clothes for a large corporate company. And, it was really interesting to learn how apparel's made on a mass scale. We sold Walmart, Target. I designed the baby clothes for Kenneth Cole and Echo and Calvin Klein, Layette brands. And so it was really interesting to see how apparel works on a global scale and to understand the marketing of apparel on a global scale. Because at the School of the Art Institute, I learned it from a fine arts perspective. So it was a nice experience to get both sides. I also learned a lot of computer skills at this job. But it was a recession. The recession hit in 2008. Our entire office got laid off. So December of 2008, I was without a job. And there were no jobs. I was, surviving on unemployment. I was applying to tons of jobs. No one was hiring. So I decided, I'm going to start my fashion business. I mean, if it fails, it fails. And if not, I'll work at Starbucks. I mean, I just kind of went for it, and I had nothing to lose, and I got a small loan from my father, and I started putting designs out on Facebook, and I got a really good response from it. You know, the social media is free advertising, and you'd be surprised how interested people are in the process. You know, how do you do things? And, like, you know, they want to support young artists trying to do things. So that was 2009. I launched my business. I got into Akira. I got great press that year. I was in Lucky Magazine. I was on the cover of the Chicago Tribune. And then I got into the Chicago Fashion Incubator Program, which is it's a faction of, it used to be sponsored by the city, now it's privately funded, but basically what it is, it's an incubator space in Macy's downtown that houses 6 up-and-coming fashion designers. It gives them a space to work, gives them mentoring, and helps them grow their businesses. So I was in that for about 8 months, and then I've been doing it ever since, and it's been great. I was voted Chicago's best local clothing designer last year through the Chicago Reader. I sell to stores all over the city. I sell online internationally. We've been in this studio space for about 4 years. I love it, and it's great seeing people wear my art and, you know, doing what I love every day and making my own hours, and, you know, getting to a point where, you know, I'm doing something I love, and I really, really love the product. I'm really proud of the product, and I'm happy to, you know, sell it to people with my name right on the label. I decided to stay in Chicago because Chicago is very accessible. You know, it's easy to find studio space, it's easy to drive around, it's easier to get fabric. And now with globalization, you can reach customers all over the world with the internet. You can ship items anywhere in the world. So I like Chicago because I could function at the pace that I wanted to in Chicago, but I can fly out to New York or LA anytime I needed. I think there's also a very supportive apparel industry in Chicago. A lot of the other designers help each other out. They collaborate. I share a space with 5 other designers. So that works out really nice. And there's a lot of fashion schools in Chicago, so it's easy for me to get interns and get assistants through those programs. As far as my process, so, you know, when you think about a fashion designer, you think about like some glamorous runway and drawing all day and draping yourself in fabric, which is not how it is at all. I mean, designing is 5% of what I do. I mean, most of it is production, you know, hauling fabric, ordering trims, going to my sewers, and then my cutters, and then my digitizers, and then, you know, schlepping things to stores and shipping out orders. A lot of it's marketing. I spend a lot of time on the computer, social media campaigns, mass email campaigns, doing branding, that kind of thing. And then there's also finances. Finances is a huge part of it. You know, keeping your books straight, making sure you're paying everyone, make sure you're getting paid. So I think it's, in a lot of ways, it's like any other small business. There's a lot of things that people don't think about. And so I like to remind myself that why I do this, why I love it, because it's a lot of work. It's not super profitable. So, you know, sometimes when I'm slaving away for, you know, 12 hours a day getting out the next collection, you know, it's not as cool as people think. It's a lot of work. But that's what makes it so great, is because it's competitive. And a lot of people aren't willing to do the work. They're not willing to put in the hours for something that isn't instantly gratifying. So it's kind of nice to, you know, come out, you know, 7 years later with a strong brand, you know, a loyal clientele, and then a city that really, really supports me. Chicago's been, you know, supportive to me, Anna Hovit, the designer, personally, but then they've also, you know, sell my clothes. I sell in 6 stores here, so it's been great. Well, I think one thing that sets my business apart is that it's made in Chicago. I mean, not many clothing brands are made in Chicago, and the few others that are here, they're not my direct competition. So it's not in my best interest to try to compete with them or try to steal vendors, because we're not selling to the same people anyway. I think my biggest competition is fast fashion, major retailers. I mean, places like Zara, Forever 21, who just rip off designers. And that's something you just have to be okay with, and you have to just start thinking about the next thing you're gonna do. And then I think another thing is having a story. The fact that I'm here in Chicago, I'm making this all here, I'm physically designing it, I'm hauling it to stores. Being a female entrepreneur, I want to inspire others to start their business or pursue their art dreams or anything that they want to do. So it's really not about competition and fending off competition. It's more just making a product I'm proud of. And all of our sweatshirts are extremely soft. They're made of bamboo rayon. They're all made in Chicago. They're high quality. And what's unique about them mostly is I drape them. You don't see a lot of draped sweatshirts. Most sweatshirts are your standard boxy sweatshirts with ribbing. I do a lot of beautiful hoods, big cowl necks, different kind of draping on the body, because I think one thing that designers don't realize is how well bamboo rayon specifically, but any kind of sweatshirt fleece, it drapes really beautifully. And there aren't a lot of designers who use their, couture draping skills mixed with a streetwear fabric. But when I started my company, I started with everything. I did jackets and sweatshirts and skirts, and I tried denim for a little bit. And what I figured out is that my sweatshirts sold the best. I mean, they were just weird, unique sweatshirts that people loved. And so we slowly started streamlining more and more to knitwear. So we only did dresses and sweatshirts. And then I found that the sweatshirts still sold better than the dresses. So we kind of narrowed it down to sweatshirts. And then I realized the styles that we're selling were all neutrals. People in Chicago love neutrals. They wear so much black and gray and navy. So as much as I love pops of color, I love, bright, designing with bright colors, I personally wasn't even wearing bright colors anymore. I was buying a lot of neutrals. And so it was a mix between my personal aesthetic and sales, looking at sales, what sells, what doesn't. And so we went from this really poppy, edgy streetwear vibe to this more mature market. And I think a big part of that is also our target market of 30 and up has money to spend on a $100 sweatshirt, as opposed to the 22-year-old I was trying to get as my customer before. They're going to go to those fast fashion stores and they're going to buy cheap quality fabric or cheap clothing, and they're going to spend $20 on it. And then women and men who are in their 30s and 40s and up, they want a really nice high quality piece that they can wear for years, and they're willing to spend a little more money on it. Well, I think one of my biggest obstacles has been money. When you're producing from raw materials, you're putting up those costs so far before you're selling the items. We also do a lot on consignment. We do a lot of online sales, so we do hold a lot of inventory. And so that's been the biggest problem, is cash flow. Getting that money to produce the orders before we get paid for them, sometimes up to 6 months later. That's a huge gap. And I think especially being a young female, there's judgments from financial lenders on that, the fact that I look young, the fact that I don't have a lot of collateral, I don't own a house. So it's been a struggle for me to get financing to do what I want to do. And it's good and bad. It's good because it keeps me lean. I don't waste money. I'm very frugal about what I spend money on, and how I control my cash flow. But then I also haven't been able to take some bigger risks that I've wanted to try to get the brand to the next level, because I don't have the money to do certain trade shows or travel to certain places. So it's been good. We've been bootstrapping the whole time. I did get a small loan from a nonprofit when I got a large order, and then credit cards, small lines of credit, just kind of figuring it out as we go, and then not taking much of an income myself, reinvesting it back into the business until we were actually profitable. And then I think that's another reason. Another reason we rebranded was because we wanted to simplify. Keeping the lines smaller with a limited collection was helpful because, I think a couple years ago, maybe a year ago, I got pretty burnt out. Between this company and I own another company, between the two of them, I was just over it all. So with this new brand, we're kind of simplifying our patterns, simplifying our fabric resources, and just making the whole thing smaller and more manageable to give me a little more time to actually have a life outside of this business. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things people assume about fashion designers. One is that they're superficial and they're judging people and what they're wearing all the time. Not at all. I wear sweatpants like every day. I'm never judging someone by what they wear. I do think that you're saying something to the world, whether you'd like to or not, about you and what you're wearing. But I would much rather, be around people who are self-expressed than necessarily well-dressed. I don't necessarily fall into the standard of American beauty. I just want people to be comfortable and like feel good in what they're wearing more than anything. So I think people think because I'm a fashion designer, I'm stuck up and judgmental, and that's not the case at all. I want people to feel good and look good in general for themselves. I think another thing is people assume fashion is easy. It is not easy, especially when everyone wants to do it. It makes it that much harder. And having to, run a small business where you are making, 20 different products with 5 different colorways and 6 different sizes, twice a year, that is, hundreds of SKUs that I'm having to design, pattern, make from raw materials, ship to stores, sell, market, finance, everything. I mean, it's so much work that people don't understand. And I think a lot of young people want to go into fashion because they're like, oh, I like clothes. That's not going to cut it. You have to be right and left brain. You have to understand finances. You have to understand computers. You have to understand math. But you also have to have a good artistic eye. You have to have a good taste. You have to have a good sense of color. There's a lot of things that go into it that a lot of people don't understand. And so, it's interesting because so many people go into fashion, but only a few come out later. And I think a lot of that is what I just mentioned, but it's also, do you really want it? Like, are you really passionate? Do you live and breathe fashion? And I don't know if I do anymore, but there was a long time in my life where I did. I was constantly thinking about, how things drape on the human body and how I could perfect someone's outfit, or, how I could make something better. And that was I lived and breathed it. So it was easy to me to work 12 hours a day, to not have money in my 20s, to work myself until I slept on that couch. I mean, and it's a little different now, but I think you have to have the drive and you have to have the ambition to really want it. It's not something you can just be like, oh, I think I'm going to be a fashion designer. I think I'm going to make a clothing line. And when people come to me and they say, I want to start a clothing line, first thing I say is, don't do it for the money. Don't do it. I mean, if you're doing it to make money as a side project, it's not going to work. But if you're doing it because you absolutely love it, all right, cool, I'll help you out. Well, when I started my company, I didn't think I could do it. I was 23. I didn't have a job, and I was like, maybe I'll start my own fashion line. Not because it wasn't what I wanted to do, but I just didn't think it was possible. It just sounded so ambitious and audacious. I was like, all right, I'll try it, whatever. And someone said, well, that's not a big enough goal. Like, give me a bigger goal. And I said, all right, I want to be the biggest fashion designer in Chicago. And I laughed at myself when I said it. And, I launched my business. It started out well. It's been going well. And then last year I was, awarded Best Local Designer in Chicago by Chicago Magazine. And it was like, oh my God, that one sentence I said 6 years ago came true. And it was just an incredible moment for me to be recognized, to have all this hard work I do recognized, which it does in social media and press outlets. But, actually having won an award after seven years was really magical, because I've applied for all different things. I've done all kinds of reality shows and contests, and I've never won any of them. So to finally get recognized for my hard work was really, really special. And then also seeing people wear my clothes. Like when I'm walking down the street and I see a stranger wearing my clothes, like that's the biggest award I can get. I mean, it just like, I like stare at them or like take photos of them or like wave at them. They probably think I'm such a weirdo. I'm like, cool, hoodie man. And he'll be like, oh, thanks. Yeah, so usually my concepts, they used to be pretty conceptual. I mean, I would do anything from dishware that inspired me to art history to other designers to a certain extent. But now what I find is just, what do I want to wear? What do I want in my closet? What is my closet missing? And then luckily other people usually want to wear those things too, or they need those things as well. So it starts out as some sort of general idea, and then it's narrowed down by fabric choices, and then from there I look at, you know, old styles that sold really well. How can I recreate those in a newer style? And then also just, like I said, what I want to wear. Like I really wanted like an easy cardigan with no collar that had long ribbing, that was longer in the back than the front, and so I made it. I don't know what my goals are for the next few years. I'm keeping that open-ended right now because I'm at a really good place. I really love our product. I love being here in Chicago. I love the stores that we currently sell to. And you know, I think that if we wanted to get much bigger and sell to department stores, we wouldn't be the same brand. We wouldn't be able to manufacture here. I wouldn't have as much control over everything. So I'm not sure getting bigger is what I want anymore. Maybe it's just about like having my core customer base, you know, staying small but profitable in the city of Chicago, and just making things that I want to make. I think, you know, one good thing when you're launching your own label or just doing any business is having a wide variety of skill sets. Learn everything you can. Learn how to use computer programs. Learn how to make patterns. Learn how to sew yourself. Try to do as much as you can, especially at the beginning, so you can cut a lot of those startup costs. As far as like, instead of hiring a web developer, maybe go to a free website place and just learn how to drag and drop your own basic website. You know, just staying really financially lean at the beginning and then growing from there is what I would say is most important, especially for an apparel company. Another thing is know what you're good at. If you have this one good thing that you are great at, do that. You know, being a little more specialized is going to help set you apart from other people, and you're going to have a good product that you like doing that is well above other people doing many things. Well, my website is shophovet.com. That's shop, HOVET.com. I'm also Shop Hovet on Instagram, and my personal page is Anna Hovit on Instagram.